Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink with more Halloween cards, more experimenting with sprays and textured backgrounds and all that fun stuff. So to start off with, I have some Ranger watercolor paper, and like I always do, I mist it lightly with water, regardless of whether it's watercolor paper, cardstock, pattern paper. Anytime I'm putting something through an embossing folder, I like to add a little bit of water. It just helps you get a better impression and helps prevent cracking. This embossing folder isn't super deep, but there is a lot of detail. This is the Halloween Mandala embossing folder. This came out last year, and I don't think I've used it in a Halloween video as of yet. So, pulled it out. I have the dampened watercolor paper in the folder, and then I'm using my Spellbinders Platinum 6 with the universal plate system, and my most recent sandwich that I find works perfectly with the Simon embossing folders is the platform A, the top B, and then I add a metal shim, and I'll have links as always. But with the embossing folders, it is listed on their site, different sandwich options for different machines, and then you just experiment a bit. But like I say, experiment, but do not force it through your machine. If it's not like rolling through, don't force it. You can break your machine. So I did that twice. So I have two backgrounds, put them in my splat box, and I'm going to, of course, use some of the new Halloween mica stains. I already did a video showing a couple of other colors on an embossed background, and they're fun. They're so fun. So the mica stains especially, you need to shake them up. I put my flour sack cloth over them and then shook them, and I actually showed that green one. This is what I was talking about. Like, if you just shake them up and down, the color can come spurting out, which isn't the end of the world, but it can make a mess. So I've shaken them up really, really, really well. You shake them up as you're working with them, because you don't want the mica to be sitting in the bottom and get sucked into the nozzle, because you can clog your nozzle. Anyway, also Tim Holtz has done a whole video on all of this, so I will link to it. It's worth sitting through because there's tons of product info, all the things. So I used black soot distress spray stain, some milled lavender, which ended up kind of getting completely covered because I have a heavy hand, and some Uncharted Mariner distress spray stain, which, oh, that color is, you can kind of see it, you know, the blue. It ends up kind of disappearing, but here you can see it in real life peeking through, and it's just, again, chef's kiss. And then, of course, I had added the Fortune Teller Wicked Elixir and some Iron Gate mica stains. That Fortune Teller especially is really coming through. That purple is, again, just chef's kiss. Everything's chef's kiss. But the green as well, that Wicked Elixir, like the green, oh, love. So did all that spraying. I dried it. I trimmed these down just a bit so they'll be smaller than my A2 card fronts. And now I'm working just on my little glass media mat, and I am blending just black soot distress ink with my little blending tool just around the edges. It just kind of deepens it a bit. And again, it's hard to explain, but I really like how the black soot, and then when I add the Foundry wax, it ends up adding to the like metallic feel of it. It's weird. So this was just fun, just experimenting and try it. See what kind of combos you can come up with, and it's always different. Even with two backgrounds I did the exact same time with the exact same embossing folder, the exact same sprays, everything still turn out different, So I blended that black soot around both of those backgrounds, and I did the edges as well to cover up any white cardstock. And then this time I am using the Sterling Foundry wax. Again, I will link to Tim's video on Foundry wax. This especially is very unique. There's a lot of like product knowledge and tips and tricks and all the things. And yeah, so far all I've used it for the most part is just applying it like so. You shake it up really, really well. I put a little bit on my craft mat, just a bit, and then you put the lid back on. This stuff, it thickens and dries out very quickly when it's exposed to air. And I'm just picking it up with my finger and then just rubbing it onto the raised areas. It's going to kind of get everywhere because, again, this embossing folder isn't super deep, but I'm okay with that because it brings out all the detail, but it also gives it this neat metallic, like distressed metal sort of look. I don't know. It was really neat. I wasn't sure exactly how this was going to turn out because I was like, I might be wrecking these backgrounds. Yeah, no. The Foundry wax totally made it. I love it. So again, I'll link to Tim's video below in the description box. If you haven't watched it, I recommend bookmarking it if you're at all interested in the Foundry wax, like these sorts of things. Because, yeah, he explains it. It's his product. He can explain it better than I can. So I just went along, applied it with my finger, and then to clean it up, I just use a little bit of like isopropyl alcohol on a wipe. And that's I wipe my hands off, wipe off my craft mat, cleaned up, good to go. So I also wiped off the black soot ink that was on my glass mat as well. And then with the Foundry wax, you must heat set it. The heat setting is what makes it metallic. It's really hard to show on camera. When you apply it thicker, you can see it. You can just barely see it on camera. It heat sets so quickly. It's not like, embossing powders, things like that. But once it's heat set, that brings out like the actual like metallic shine. But that also sets it so it ends up being like, it will resist anything put on top of it. It's, again, Foundry wax. It's really neat. The more I play with it, the more I'm really enjoying it. So I heat both these backgrounds to set it. And then I'm just using some CZ Design Reverse Halloween sentiment strips. I didn't want to add a bunch of other elements to these backgrounds, like little characters and scene building and all that stuff, because I really liked how the backgrounds turned out and I just wanted them to be kind of the focus. So I used the sentiment strips. So I trimmed down all of the sentiment strips that I wanted to use, just using my little guillotine trimmer and basically literally eyeballing it. So trim them down. The large trick or treat sentiment, I'm trimming it down, and then I'm actually going to cut all the words apart just so it fits better, because I wanted to kind of center that among the background, because the way it's a mandala, it's, starts in the center and works its way out. So trimmed all those pieces apart, and then I usually will use just a black marker. That's what I show in videos, where I run the black marker around the edges of these reverse sentiment strips to cover up that exposed white cardstock. But this time I used Seedless Preserves Distress Ink. It's subtle, like very, very subtle. In the end, it doesn't make a big difference. You could just use, black ink, whatever. But you can see it in real life. When you see the card from the side, you can see that purple edge, and it just brings out that little bit, extra purple. So I just went along all the edges of all the sentiments I'm going to use on the fronts of the cards with that ink pad. And then for the insides of my cards, I have my card bases, and these are top folding A2 card bases. And I'm going to use this Fortune Teller mica stain again. This color it's basically Seedless Preserves with like, that intense mica shimmer. It's so beautiful. But I will say that about all of the mica stains, and same with the ones that were released last year. They're just, you can't go wrong with shimmer. Add some sparkle, add some shimmer to it, and I'm like, yes, I'll have it all. Thank you. Put it all in my cart, So anyway, I splattered those onto the insides of those cards. And then for my backgrounds, I put Big Mama foam tape all across the backs of these. So it'll give it a little bit of dimension, but it will also adhere it really well, because of course these did warp quite a bit with the amount of liquid and heat and everything I was adding to them. But a good liquid adhesive will also adhere them well. It just depends on my mood, whether I want to use liquid adhesive or I want to use foam tape. So a nice compromise is the Big Mama foam tape, because it's thin. It's not as thick as standard foam tape. So cut the foam tape on the back of these, pop these into place, and now you can see like it does look like metal. I don't know. I love it. I love playing with sprays. The more I play with them and experiment and all this, I'm just like, yay. I'm like a kid in a candy store. It's fun. So got those adhered to the card bases. And then the sentiments, I put little thin foam squares on the back of all of them. and then pop those onto the cards as well. So I'm going to get those adhered into place. Like I said, I did not want to cover up much of these backgrounds because it's just, yeah, and the camera doesn't do it justice. You can kind of see in the photos at the end, and I'll have the photos on my blog as well. The color comes out a little bit better in the photos. And then, of course, in real life, you can see, like, you know, you got the green peeking out in the Uncharted Mariner here and there. And then the sparkle and the metallic look and all of it. It's just so much fun. So I, of course, added some bling. These are some Trinity Stamps Glamorous Grape Baubles. Again, pulling out more of that purple. So stuck those onto the card and then adhered them into place with just little bits of craft tacky glue. And then once those were adhered, I remembered that I still had sentiment strips to adhere to the insides of the card. So I'm going to do that now. So my splatter is dry. And again, you can't really see it on camera, but in real life, because it's that mica stain, these purple splatters on the inside are shimmery as well. So it just gives it that little extra something. So I adhered the sentiment strips to the insides of the cards, and then I'm going to pair these cards with some metallic black envelopes from Simon, and that's going to finish them off. So I'll turn the flashlight on my phone to try and pick up just the sparkle. You know, you can kind of see it here. It's all just, yeah, sparkly and textural and metallic looking, and yeah, fun. They were just fun. So I will have links below the video. I will link to my blog post. I'll have pictures in the pictures in the blog post, as well as picture links to everything. The supply list, all of that will be linked directly below as well. And then I'll link those 2 videos by Tim if you guys haven't, you know, bookmarked them, watched them, etc. So you can check that all out below if you are interested. Thank you all so much for watching, for subscribing, especially thumbs upping and commenting. Commenting on my videos and thumbs upping helps a ton because it tells the robot overlords that you guys are liking what you're seeing. So then they push my videos out more rather than keeping them suppressed or whatever, you know, robots and algorithms and all the things. So I very much appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.